the one, the one, the one, the one.
Right path. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam or was planning to create Adam, and the angels questioned, like, why would you create something or someone who would cause bloodshed on earth? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that I know what you don't know. And later on the angels say, Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Glory be to you, Allah. We have no knowledge except that which you have taught us. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those people who acquire the knowledge and retain it when it is necessary for da'wah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I ask you to clarify your intention, rectify your intentions, that we are here only seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So serve the Deen. It will be a bit personal in the beginning, but as we progress, inshallah, we will give you the chunk of the whole. But before we get started, why is it important to do da'wah? Like, if I ask you this question, why is it very essential for Muslims to do da'wah? Yalla, bismillah. I don't want you to stare at me thinking that I'm going to do all the talk. I want you to
continue the prophetic mission.
Beautiful, to continue the prophetic mission. Why is it essential for a Muslim to do da'wah? Hey, young boy, girl, whatever. Huh? Why is it really important to do da'wah? Aside from continue, why actually you have to continue the prophetic mission?
It's our responsibility.
It's our responsibility. You're very close. You're very close. Alright, it was actually the advice in the last will of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Think about it. The last speech. Like, if your father told you, come over here, my children, come here, I'm dying tonight, and this is my last word. Please, number one, be good to one another. Don't fight over the inheritance, and so on and so forth. Believe me, and if your father passed away right after this, these would be the words that you will remember for life. Not only that, but you will do your best to follow these advice as they were uttered by your father, the last words of your father. There is a professor, I forgot his name, but he wrote a beautiful book called The Last Lecture. And I advise you to read it. It's a very inspirational book. If you don't want to read the book, you listen to his lecture online. It's available, 1 hour plus lecture based on that book. And this professor, he suffered from cancer, many tumors in his body. And they asked him to give a last speech before he resigned and something like that. So he called the book The Last Lecture. Guess what? Of all his achievements in life, as a genius, engineer and IT manager and so on and so forth, no one remembered anything but these last words. Because after this, he passed away a few months later. The last words of anyone are the most powerful. And the Prophet ﷺ, among his last words, what? بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Convey on my behalf even a single word. Meaning, don't leave this deen to be a personal thing. It's like, I'm praying, alhamdulillah. It's sufficient for me to pray 5 times. It's sufficient for me to pay the zakat, to fast in Ramadan, to go to the masjid. That's what I'm doing for myself. Islam is not a personal religion. And this is something very important. Islam is not a personal religion. Unless you have an interest to advise people and to correct their behavior in a good manner, and to have an interest to save them from what is true, and that's hellfire. When we make the shahada, sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would make us declare, and I believe that Jannah is true and hellfire is also true. Why hellfire was made? Hellfire was made to barbecue chicken? No. Hellfire was made for punishment, for those who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those who deny His existence and so on. So your job is to save people from hellfire. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, when he visited the Jewish boy who was about to depart, who was about to pass away, he advised him to embrace Islam. And when he took the shahada after seeking permission from his father, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Did he say takbir? No. He said, Alhumdulilah alladhi anqadhahu min al-nar. All praise due to Allah who saved him from hellfire. Look how keen the Prophet ﷺ was to save that person from damnation in hellfire. And this should be our attitude as Muslims. When you look at your neighbors, when you look at even Muslims who are misguided, who are not practicing the Deen, you should have that fear in your heart that if they ended up their lives in this way, in this condition, they might end up also in hellfire. And so your duty is to what? Go and advise them in the best possible manner. That's our job here in life. So Islam is not a personal religion. When the Prophet ﷺ, in the initial stage of his reflections over the creation of Allah, he went to Ghar Hira. He went to this cave, some few kilometers away from Mecca, but he could view the Kaaba from far distance, from the top. 2 hours to ascend this mountain. Imagine Khadija radiallahu anha wardaha, the greatest supporter at that time of the Prophet ﷺ, without even knowing what was going on in that cave, she used to also ascend at the age of 55. 55 years old woman would take all the necessities, food and provision to the Prophet ﷺ and put the food there and just leave without actually questioning, what are you doing here alone? No. She trusted him. But what happened? The Prophet ﷺ, some narrations say he would stay there for 3 nights, sometimes 40 days, sometimes more than that. But the point is, the Prophet ﷺ was thinking, this world could have never come by itself. There must be something. He was contemplating. Then the angel Gabriel came down, and Iqra, and you know the story. Did the Prophet ﷺ ever go back to the mountain of, or Jabal al-Nur or Ghar Hira for contemplation? After this incident, after Iqra? Never. Have you asked yourself why? And have you asked yourself why the Muslims now are so attached to the Ghar Hira, and why they wanted to go there and spend time there and sit, waste their time ascending, descending, just to see a place where the Prophet ﷺ was sitting? Just to witness the place of the first revelation? That's good. That gives you something, spiritual or something like that. But this is not what the Prophet ﷺ or his companions did after his demise. Why? Because after the first revelation, it was the time for what? Yalla, I want you to write this word, inshallah, across the page. It was the time for what? Action. Khalas. Yes, please come in.
Yeah.
Just sit down. Do you want to put the
Sometimes
chair
this.
here?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa Aisha, how are you? Please come in. Hey, how are you going?
Alhamdulillah.
Good, mashallah. Kids are growing up, and I feel like we are. What's happening?
We are growing young.
Growing young, yes.
Do you want the chair?
No, later, brother. Later. Because otherwise I don't want to block. Okay,
keep it
Zakir.
here.
May Allah bless you all. Subhanallah al-Azim. So all this, I wasn't preparing this introduction, wallahi, but it's just on mind that the Prophet ﷺ, after Iqra, and the angel Gabriel appeared to him. I want you to imagine this because it's powerful. The angel Gabriel appeared to the Prophet ﷺ at that particular incident in his actual form. And the Prophet ﷺ said, wherever I looked, the angel Gabriel was there. In his description of the angel Gabriel, he had 600 wings. Allah, you can't even fathom that. And he said that if one of these wings were to spread, to fly, he will block the sunlight from reaching the earth. That's something absolutely powerful. Yet he used to miss Gabriel. If Gabriel did not ascend, a declaration or announcement that of all the work that I have done in terms of studies and in terms of listening to my advisors, my mentors, my sheikhs and all that, tomorrow's course is the most important thing that I have ever learned in my life. And so I cannot emphasize that enough, that if you don't come tomorrow, you are missing a lot. You're gonna miss a lot, because we have all experienced these emotions, Islamic emotions, meaning like as soon as you hear an ayah, you may cry, or a story from the life of the Sahaba, you cry. But you go home, you remember Handala? May Allah be pleased with him, when he listened to the Prophet ﷺ, he was crying, imagining Jannah, imagining Hellfire, but when he go to his family, he don't feel the same. So he thought that he was a hypocrite. Now the difference between us and Handala is the following. Our 1 hour for our dunya had become 23.5 hours. and then 35 minutes a day for Islam. Those where you pray, you go to attend a religious gathering, where you see Ramadan every now and then. So our attachment to the Deen becomes what? Occasional. No, back then, the Deen was everything, and life matters, entertainments, jokes was occasional. And we are discussing in this course tomorrow, inshallah, what is the problem and how to cure that. And I'm addressing two categories of people: those who just made commitments recently, it's time to practice the Deen, or those people who took Shahada yesterday and they don't know which direction to head to. I started wrong. When I started making the commitment, I thought that I can change the world. I was wrong. And that's why I fought with almost every organization in town. And those people who witnessed the beginning of SIT, they would recognize. I fought with everyone. Why? Because I thought I am right. Hey, Dawah, everybody must become a Muslim now. I was wrong. I was wrong. You know, things has to be taken wisely through a supervisor. We'll discuss these things. What are the things that we are missing today? So one category are those who just made commitment recently. The other category of people, which are more important, those who are practicing Islam already, but internally, they don't feel Islam. They don't feel that when they say Allahu Akbar and stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing, no effect. They read the Quran, but they don't feel nothing. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu arda, every time he read the Quran, he cries. Now what kind of a heart is that? Every time, to an extent that Aisha will tell him, my dad, please, yani, calm down. Can you imagine? What is the difference between us and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq? That is the discussion tomorrow, inshallah. And how can we improve that? It's discussed tomorrow through a lengthy discussion, inshallah ta'ala. Wallahi, the most important thing I've ever learned. Because that's what will keep us Muslims all the way until we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, with pure hearts. So, where were we, bro? Action. See, sisters are making notes, that means. Ha ha ha. So, the Prophet ﷺ, when he left the cave, he never returned back because it was the time for action. Now, I want you to imagine with me the following scenario. What was the first word revealed in the Quran? We will repeat that tomorrow, but now just briefly to give you an idea about how action-oriented our religion is. It's not emotional religion. It's not based on God love you. It's not about accept me and your problems are over. No, 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 no. Unless you take some actions, this religion will never benefit you. Unless you step out of your comfort zone. Wallahi, guys, you know, my Sheikh Wajdi, may Allah bless him, he said, be careful of 2-3 sicknesses that actually attack the heart. Ilf al-ma'siyah. Number one, to get used to the sin. Not the sin that you are committing, but the sin that are committed around you. So, for example, when I came to Hong Kong, you know, I don't want to say how many years ago, but long time ago, I saw people kissing each other in the street, and that for me was, oh my God, you know, what is that? Because in Egypt we don't see that frequently, so for me it was new. A week later it was normal, and I used to look, you know, so I got used to the sin. But the danger of this is that you may also be, on the long run, you may also develop tolerance for the sin. Like today, people are tolerating a lot of things. I don't want to mention exactly what Muslims today are tolerating and arguing about. It's something that you cannot even imagine that Muslims have reached to that state of tolerating sins that are confirmed in the Quran to be sins, confirmed by the Prophet ﷺ to be sins. No one can even discuss it, whether the 2 opinions, 3 opinions. No, no, no. It's like major stuff. Muslims are tolerating them. Why? Because they got used to these sins being committed day in and day out in their society. So be careful of this sickness. The second one is be careful of getting used to comfort. Comfort. You have, mashallah, stable job, you have a beautiful house, you have stable income, you have vacations every year. So what happened? You become very relaxed and you neglect what matters the most, and that is the main purpose why Allah created us, and that is worship. We favor TV shows over standing up 2 rak'ah to pray. And I wanna just ask you, how many of you, and be honest, yani, this is a workshop kind of discussion, it's not like a class. So we need interaction. How many of you honestly have felt in the past that it's too heavy on their hearts to stand up for just 2 rak'ah? Optional 2 rak'ah. Yeah? And I guarantee you, everyone in this gathering have experienced this. Wudu, performing wudu on some people is, how can I leave my phone, guys? How can I leave my phone? Wallahi, this is how because I'm a visual person, I imagine things, you know. So yesterday I delivered this focus course, and I said, guys, let's start with focus. That was the introduction to my class. Guys, this is about focus, so let's start by focusing. Give me all your phones. And to just see how the people were looking at each other, is he joking? Wallah, it was so fun to see people pulling their feet and waiting for someone to take an initiative of giving up his phone for 2 hours. Throughout the course, their phones was on my table, on my desk. And guess what? Throughout the 2 hours, I was distracted more than, I think, 15 to 20 times. Why? Because of the vibrations of their phones on my table. Now imagine if these phones were with them on their hands or in their pockets while I'm talking. Were they going to focus? No. Because you are tempted once you hear that ping, you know, once you receive a text message, what do you do? What do you do when you hear the first ping, WhatsApp ping? What do you do? Even if you are on the most important tasks in your school or work, you're tempted to divert your attention to the ping. Just can you imagine? So when you tell your child who's playing games, and games now are like not like Mario, you know the Mario game, boring. That's boring now. They have things like 3D now. I was actually visiting a friend of mine in Shenzhen just last week, and we visited their home before we leave, and he invited my son to play what do you call that?
Tennis?
Fencing?
No, the fighting with swords, something like that.
Fencing?
I forgot that sport. It's a sport like
Fencing?
yeah.
Fencing.
Fencing is it called? Yeah. So, but actually, they are holding something, and they are fighting just you know, hitting the air. There is nothing in their hand. They are just holding the remote control, and we can see on the screen who's actually hitting who. You know, and I, as a father, you know, who doesn't encourage video games, I was like into the game. The exciting of games today is like, and you tell your son when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, call us during the adhan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Are you telling me that your son will leave that excitement and go and make wudu? So unless you cut the distraction from your life, you will not develop that focus. Actually, we will talk about focus in a while, just briefly, but things are different. So the Prophet ﷺ never go back to that age of contemplation. Although he encouraged contemplation where you are. Like if you're passing by and you saw a beautiful tree, go and contemplate and say, subhanallah, look at Allah's creation. Invite people to contemplate over Allah's creation, those who don't believe in Allah, and so on. So contemplation is good, but the age of staying there for 40 days, just do nothing, look, it's over. The first word in the revelation, Iqra, it's an action. Few days later, the Prophet ﷺ was trembling under the blanket. قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Come, stand up in prayer. I want you to, I told you I'm a visual person, right? So imagine the Prophet ﷺ received half a page Quran. اقرأ بسم ربك الذي خلق is half page, right? The whole surah is half page. Imagine now the second surah, the second word, قُمِ اللَّيْلِ. Stay up at night, all night pray. Pray with what? What am I going to recite? What am I going to recite? قُمِ اللَّيْلِ. Stand up all night. That's the literal translation of the verse. It's not just stand 2 rak'ah, قُلُوا اللَّهُ أَحَدًا إِنَّا أَعْطَيْنَاكَ الْكَوْثَرَ. It's like not that kind of prayer that we do. Allahu Akbar before saying Al-Fatiha, Allahu Sami Allahu. 1 second you finish it. No. قُمِ اللَّيْلِ. stand up all night and pray. That's the second surah, subhanallah. And then, again, qum means what? Action. The third surah, qum fa'anzir. Now, go and convey. Again, stand up and go and convey now the message. Qum, iqra, qum, and then later on, sabbih isma rabbika. Now, glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worship. Again, another action. If you collected all the surahs that were revealed in the early, days of the revelation, you will see that all of them are action oriented. And if you see the last words of the Prophet ﷺ advising us to what? Go and do something. Islam is not only for you to keep. So those who are interested in really serious business of dawah, serious now. Are you serious about it? Are you really excited about it? Then there are some essential things that you have to bear in mind. Very essential. Unless you focus on these things, inshallah ta'ala, then I advise you just focus on the dunya and forget about anything else related to akhirah. The first thing and the most important of all is, anyone can tell me? The most essential thing for anyone to do da'wah is knowledge.
Seek knowledge.
Is that the most important thing? Patience.
Intention.
Manners.
Intention.
You're close.
Dedications.
Huh?
Dedication.
Mashallah, all these are good points. Some of them are on the list, some are not, but
Wisdom.
one is the most, like the top most important thing for anyone who have this heart for da'wah is sincerity, ikhlas. Sincerity. Now, unless you are very sincere in doing what you do, then you're wasting your life. You're actually destroying your akhirah. You are actually destining yourself to hellfire. Simple as that. In short, very easy to understand language. You are destining yourself to hellfire. If you're not sincere, if you don't do what you do in terms of da'wah, purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then nothing is going to benefit you. Perhaps you will benefit others by your speech, by your sweet words, by your appearance, and so on and so forth, but you are damning yourself. There is a scholar who said, Ajaban, how strange the condition of some people who build a bridge for people to pass through hellfire to Jannah, and they themselves fall into hellfire. Why? Because they are advising the people to do what is right, but they themselves are corrupted. Internally they are corrupted. Why? Because maybe they are not doing it for the right purpose, they are doing it for a show. They are doing it for the sake of being praised and pointed at and so on. So be careful. Now some people say, so what if I do something purely for the sake of Allah, but people start praising me? And people start, whenever they meet you, appreciate what you do, mashallah. This is something that our scholars taught us. They say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes they wanted to reward you. Allah wanted to reward you before you even meet Him. So He will send you someone as a good news to tell you, mashallah, may Allah bless you for what you did. Take it and say, Alhumdulilah, who guided me to this, and had He not guided me, I would have never been guided. That if Allah did not guide me to what I'm doing, I would have never been guided. So when you see, for example, within one family, sometimes you wake up for Fajr, true or false? You wake up for Fajr to pray, but some of your family members are not yet there. They are not praying Fajr at all. Then you look at them, astaghfirullah, I don't know how at that precious moment you are sleeping, astaghfirullah, Allahu Akbar. And while you are praying, you are not thinking about what you are saying, but rather, I am better. See how? Rather say what? Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihada. All praise due to Allah who guided me to this. Because you are not praying Fajr on your own. Wallahi, it's because Allah had picked you to pray during this precious time. And He did not guide the others yet. So it's nothing about you. Always give the credits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same thing with da'wah. When you do da'wah and someone embraces Islam because of the effort you have, went through and your dedication and all these things, don't ever think that he became a Muslim or she became a Muslim because of you. Zakir used to say the rubbish that we are, right? In one of his speeches, we are nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He loves you, He gave you that opportunity, that's it. So thank Him who guided those people through you as a tool. But it's all the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so be sincere. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. That we were commanded to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with sincerity. And da'wah is an act of worship. Why? Why da'wah is an act of worship? Because it's the last will of the Prophet ﷺ. Who is the Prophet ﷺ? The messenger of Allah. What does that mean? He was commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Allah said, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ. Follow Allah and obey His commands and follow His messenger. Because the Quran also told us, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. The Prophet ﷺ does not utter anything from his own whims and desires. And no. It is no more than a revelation in that. So even his words, his hadith, are based on divine inspiration. It's not just his own ideas and suggestions. No. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he told us last words, convey, guys. Don't let this deen be something kept in your home. We will talk tomorrow about great examples of the companions and what they have done, what they have achieved in the first day they have embraced Islam. The first day they embraced Islam. And compare them with what you have done throughout all your life. What you have done compared to Abu Bakr, Uthman, Ali, yani things wallahi will made us shiver. And it will make us feel shame that whatever we have done, we will be sitting, standing on the Day of Judgment waiting for them to enter Jannah. That's how our level is. Like, Abu Bakr not yet in Jannah, forget about it. He will just be there waiting until these great people enter Jannah. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran about them, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah was so satisfied with them, but they too were very satisfied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the things that destroy our heart is lacking of contentment. That we are not happy with who we are. We are not happy with what we have. We always look at those people who have more, and we wish to have more. And when Allah give us more, we want it even more. And these are not of the characteristics of Daee. So this is the first and most important thing. Unless you're sincere, honest, doing it only for Allah, and always making dua. Tomorrow we'll talk about also dua and how important dua in the life of a Daee, in the life of a Muslim. Unless you're making dua, Ya Allah accept, Ya Allah protect, Ya Allah save me, you are a Daee, you are saving people, but you are in a very tricky position. Because you might like what you're doing, and you might be happy about what you're doing, and you forget worship. Some people, they focus on da'wah, but what are you doing at night? When you go home, what you do? I'm tired of da'wah, so I need to sleep. Right? How about fasting? How about these things, the worship? No, you have to make balance between acts of worship and activities. Detachment. What do I mean by detachment? Unless you give all the credit to others, then you wouldn't be benefiting yourself. You see, I told you earlier that I started it all wrong, and I was always attached to my logo, Serving Islam Team. I have to, unless my logo is there, I will never do the event. That was me, because I thought that this is fair. I thought that this is fair. We paid a lot of money to bring those scholars to town to do da'wah, to benefit the community. And some other people wanted just to have it, all for themselves without even paying some of the expenses. And they want to put also the logo to show that we have the credit. So I was like, no way. But what happened as a result of my attitude back then, the community didn't benefit from one of the great scholars in the world. Why? Because I was attached to my logo. I was attached to my ego. The biggest mistake you can make in da'wah, let the da'wah take place whether under your logo or not. What is more important is da'wah to take place. Before we leave Hong Kong, Muhammad Atallah taught me that dua, may Allah bless him. He taught me that dua. When he was hugging me, he said that I made a dua that if I die, he didn't expect to leave Hong Kong that early, after 2 years. So he said that I made a dua that if I die, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue the effort that we have started in town, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue down in Hong Kong, because I see the potential. So I took that from him, and I kept on asking Allah the same. Ya Allah, if I die, if I left, if I this and that, please let the da'wah continue. And subhanallah al-azim, I look at MCHK, I look at other organizations who were not active at that time. MashaAllah, now they are going out, they are doing street dawah, they are inviting people to Islam. I say, Ya Allah, make what Adil Malik is doing in my scale of good deeds. Wallahi. Ya Allah, if he was inspired by us, Allahu Akbar. If not, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Khalas. Yani, I ask Allah to grant us all sincerity.
Ameen.
Yeah? And detachment. Detachment from who? Detachment from you. Detach yourself from yourself. Don't ever give the credit to you for the success or the achievements that happen. We used to brag about 200 shahadas in 2009. If you go back to our old emails, that was my pride. You know, we have 200 shahadas, and we counted them. I promise you, we have an Excel sheet. Everyone took shahada. Alhamdulillah. And then shaitan came like, this week no shahada. What do we increase the beat? You know, how many of you will embrace Islam? Raise up your hand. And we were like, just go. So the intention changed. From doing it for the sake of Allah to do it for, we want to tell the people, the community who are, donating money for us to, hey, shahada, give us more. Wallah, why? Because we trusted our brains. We thought that we are more smart than than the elder generation and the scholars and we didn't learn the art of da'wah and we didn't go through a lot of training at that time. So it's very important to detach yourself from yourself. And if somebody wanted the credit, give him the credit. And step aside and make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be the judge. And make a dua, Ya Allah, give me the reward in the hereafter. I don't want anything in this dunya. Give me the reward in the hereafter. So this is one of the qualities if you are serious about da'wah. Yeah? Another thing is focus. We talked about focus. Focus on the end goal. Don't focus on what you are doing now. Don't always focus on a quick result. Like I train people with addiction about the instant gratification. The things like you want to be happy instantly. I always tell the people, what is your end goal? What do you want to achieve from this? I want my family to be happy. I don't want my wife to be angry. I don't want my husband to be this and that. Okay, so what you're doing now, will it serve you? Will it serve that purpose? No. So drop that and focus on the MIT, I call it, the most important thing, the thing that matters. So if you don't focus, sorry, I skipped, this is the last point actually. So don't focus. So now we are on focus. Yeah. So unless you focus on the end goal, which is we wanted, and that's why we were very clear about the statement or the mission at Serving Islam Team, for example. We wanted to be the most coordinated, most accessible organization when it comes to people who wanted to know about Islam. That was the end goal. That's why I will show you the projects that we have started, which is outdated because I actually wanted to include MCHK project in this slide, but the time was not sufficient. But this is an old slides. I edited it just last night, and I was really hoping to include his project. So I'm very proud of this guy. But the point is, we were very focused on what we wanted to do, and we focused on one project at a time. Once we started to learn, we started focusing on one project. So when we started something like the newspaper ads, which you'll see a bit, that was our main focus, and we dedicated a team to come up with the right verses that would attract attention and so on and so forth. So focus. If you wanted to support any dawah organization, then my advice would be don't go and suggest something to them. Yani if somebody wants to assist Brother Adil Malik in his organization, brother, I think you should start canceling, what is the poster? Cancel this collaboration thing, you have to work on your own. Yeah, and cancel the fundraising, man. You just focus on education. You came from outside. You don't know the effort, the planning, the structure, the committee, what they actually need at that present stage. Like those people who come sometimes from overseas to our town, they wanted to donate. All right, alhamdulillah. You sit with them, So what do you need? I say, what do you do? We arrange weekly classes, alhamdulillah. We do street dawah every month. We invite scholars, and these cost a lot of money, so this is what we need. No, I think you should buy a laptop and put it in the streets and the MTR station and let the people play and understand Islam on their own. This is actually a true story, happened to me. They wanted to make, you know, these free internet things in the MTR, so they wanted to do that. They wanted to develop these machines in China. It's a good idea, but it's not applicable here. Because the people see these devices like everywhere, like it will not attract them anyway. It was a good idea anyway, but we didn't need it at that present time. We said, no, this is what we are focused on. These are my projects. You want to support these projects? Most welcome. You don't want, you have other ideas, you don't know the people here, you don't know the community here, and so on and so forth. So what we did, we said we don't need your donations. Because in our constitution, SIT, we do not accept conditional donations. You don't come and say, I'll give you, provided that you want to. You don't know anything about my organization, you don't know our policies, you don't know our constitution, you don't know what we do, so you don't come and say, I will give you, provided that you do this. And guess what? This man, when he saw us very firm about what we focused on, he gave us the money anyway. So that's what you need to do. When you focus, you get what you want. You achieve what you want. And we will talk about focus later on, inshallah, if you are interested to know how to really develop focus, even as an individual, we can, inshallah, dedicate some passion. If you don't have passion, you know, there's a difference between passion and being passionate. You might have the passion, all the passion for the Deen, but you don't demonstrate that passion to people. Then it will not reach to them. So you must be passionate about your passion. Meaning, as soon as you open your mouth, people should believe it. Wow. You know that these guys, the non-Muslim guys who come and discuss with me, Brother Ali, Brother Adil sometimes, and those people, they know that we are firm believers in Islam. They don't think that we are easy customers for. They know. Why? Because as soon as we open our mouth, we are very confident, alhamdulillah. And the confidence is not because I am confident and so on. It's because Allah gave us what make us confident. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا يَأْتُونَكَ بِمَثَلٍ إِلَّا جِئْنَاكَ بِالْحَقِّ وَأَحْسَنَ تَفْسِيرًا. That whoever comes to you with an example to convince you, we brought to you the truth and a better explanation. So don't get scared. Every example that you need to use to convey the message is there in the Quran, is there in the life of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. You don't need to go anywhere else. Wallahi, you don't have to go anywhere else. Stick to the Quran. Tomorrow, guys, I'll talk about the Quran great deal. Please. Please attend, inshallah. I cannot do that. And now, you see knowledge? Knowledge comes on the list of the most important essential, or the most essential things for any Da'i who is willing to do da'wah and convey the message of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Yusuf, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. Say, this is my path. Islam is my path. Islam is my deen. I call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to this deen upon certain knowledge, not just any knowledge, not just information. Not just a lecture by Dr. Zakir, Naik, or Sheikh Ahmed Didat, okay, I'll copy all of them and then go and tell the people the same thing. Be careful. Dr. Zakir Naik, may Allah bless him and reward him for his effort. He does his research on his own. He sat, he studied, he did his research, and as a result, if somebody asked him a question related to that topic, he will respond not from a paper, not through Google search. No. He will answer because he has done his homework. So the danger is when you study a lecture by Dr. Zakir Naik and go and say the same thing, you might receive a question that you have no clue how to answer. And as a result, what will happen? You will be damaging the picture, the image of Islam itself. So I advise you don't just copy and paste. And that was one of the mistakes before I used to do when I take Sheikh Ahmed Didat's lecture and use his arguments against Christians. What happened? They asked me a question. I think he didn't answer this question because I didn't do the research. I just studied what he said. Taqleed, that is like imitating. Do your research. And that's why, subhanallah, and Brother Ali is a witness to this, when I did a research on the topic of salvation, and by the way, inshallah ta'ala, in April's conference at the peak, mark your calendar, 21st and 22nd of April, inshallah ta'ala, already dates are blocked and mashayikh almost confirmed. The theme of this conference will be salvation. Because some religious group will come and tell you only salvation is only in my home. Unless you come to me, you are no longer saved. And the problem is they come to you and tell you don't have evidence that you have salvation. Those groups, they come to you and cast doubts in your heart and tell you, are you sure 100% that you're going to Jannah? We say what? Inshallah. And the inshallah is very submissive, like inshallah. And you feel like weak. No. We have proof that salvation is found in Islam through so many channels. Not only one channel, like they have. They have only one channel. We have tons of them. And that's why every sheikh, inshallah, coming to town will be discussing salvation from one particular, angle. Beautiful. So I invite you all to come and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unless you have the knowledge to speak, you will not have confidence to present your case, inshallah ta'ala. Now, this is one of the quotes I borrowed from one of my teacher. He said, initiate, do not wait. Which means like, you be the first person to start something. You be the one to take that difficult path of starting and initiating a project. Don't be that guy who sits for a year in front of his TV, movies and all that, and all of a sudden you receive a call from Adil Malik, brother, we need some help, someone to carry with us something. Can you please come? Yes, I will come. But he didn't know what brother Adil went through for a year before that call. That's the difference between someone who initiate ideas and someone who come, mashallah, MCHK is cool now, let's go and help. It's good, alhamdulillah, but the one who initiate is unique, is someone different. Yeah, because he has gone through a lot of hassles, a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. And then you came when the cake was already ready for you to eat. Just sincerity, back to sincerity, because this is the most important. When we started Street Dawah and we start posting these videos, and people felt like, wow, shahad, 8 shahadas, Allahu Akbar. So we receive a lot of phone calls. And me and Muhammad Atallah, we already passed through that initial stage of excitement. Now it's the time to be wise now, wisdom now, the right thing, do the right thing. So me and Muhammad Atallah, we decided to test the water. Oh, yeah, the time is running. I didn't. Subhanallah. May Allah increase the barakah, inshallah. So I told him, let's test the water, test those people who are coming to do da'wah and excited to do da'wah with us. So we said, we have street da'wah next Sunday. Those who wish to join, please call us, talk to us, come to our office. So they came. We want to be in the street da'wah, what's your name? And we did like a small interview. And we confirmed, okay, inshallah, we're gonna meet at, look at this, 6 a.m. in Kowloon town, where I think the warehouse was there for the books and all that. 6 a.m. sharp, we have to meet there. Why 6 a.m.? I saw on the internet will start at 10 a.m. Why 6 a.m.? No, honey, because we actually carry the boxes, and stuff, and we load it in the car, and then we take all the car,
and then we set it up.
And then the tent, we need men to open the tent, and then we organize it, and then we need people to start taking certain stations to invite people to our tent. And no, I thought like I would be in front of the camera, say ashhadu, and the girl would say ashhadu, and this is what they wanted. You see, sincerity. Wallahi, during the book fair, there are people who refuse to go on the bridge to give flyers. They refuse. They say, no, we want to be here on the.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. This is why I came here. That shows you what? The sincere person from those who came for the wrong reason. So be careful. Forgive me about this. This was very old projects that shook Hong Kong and stuff like that. But these are some of the projects that, we started it and it worked. People were opposing street da'wah. They say this can invite hatred, invite violence, invite heated discussions. Wallahi, we haven't experienced even one single negative occasion. In fact, one day we had this I Love Jesus, I think we have a pastor on the opposite side. He was telling the people, do not listen to the Muslims. Do not follow those Muslims. And he was in the microphone. He was African, like brother Ali. He was very, very angry. Sorry to say that. Wallahi, I'm just, I remember the whole situation. And none of the Muslims, alhamdulillah, none of the Muslims in our side ever responded. And on that day, 8 shahadas, alhamdulillah. Yani people were fighting us verbally, yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us. So this, yani be creative. You want to do da'wah, don't stick to the regular practice. Why don't you come up with something different and initiate, see if it works or not. We started one project and it didn't work out, we canceled it and finished, and we moved on. And don't stress out when things don't work out. Yeah, this was one of the massive, alhamdulillah, this went, I think, from 2009 all the way to, I think, 2014. And it took really good time every week on Saturday, different verses, commentary. This project, alhamdulillah, reached the prison. We received letters from prison. Sister Aisha was actually in charge, right? Sister Aisha was in charge of responding to those people in prison. When we did this project, we were targeting the people of Hong Kong who read South China Morning Post. We never thought that people in jail will be reading and embracing Islam because something like that. It's the book fair, the scholars. This was the box of hope sending to the Philippines. I don't advise you guys to do this because it's very costly. The money that we paid for shipment and all that was really too much. So the next project of that sort, we actually collected the money and we traveled with the cash to the Philippines, and they bought everything from there, and it was we saved a lot of money, and it actually served 3 whole areas, mashallah. So these are some of the things that you can do at the peak, alhamdulillah, one of the icon now of Muslims in Hong Kong. Allahumma lak alhamd. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from showing off. But I was planning to include some photos, but there was no time really to go through what this guy does. May Allah accept him. Alright, so now this in the whole day workshop of this Serve the Deen in Malaysia, I have this workshop done once. I actually asked all the group to divide themselves into groups and come up with their own dawah project, and you would be amazed. In about 30 minutes I gave them as an activity. We came up with at least five projects that are superb, that I was hoping to actually implement any of them here. They are recorded with me until now on my wish list. So, but one of the things is that I gave you 30 minutes, you come up with brilliant ideas. How about if you spend 1 week with your family members, for example, with your friends, and 1 week just to come up with a creative idea of da'wah that could attract attention, bring people to at least understand. By the way, I forgot to mention that Muslims should not be interested in people coming to Islam. This is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But your job is to at least make them understand what Islam stands for, what Islam is all about, to clarify the misconceptions that the media is promoting and so on. Now let's get to the main idea. Like imagine if you are doing da'wah, you are doing the job of the prophets of Allah. And who are the prophets of Allah? The best selection, the best choices. And Allah will not choose someone to do the job, to deliver His message, unless He's picking the best of the best of the best at that time. Until we ended up with the best of all examples, and that is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We learn from here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent in every nation a messenger with this message. What is that message? Worship Allah and stay away from worshipping any other deity. So for Daees to convey the message, you have to focus on these two things. That's why I was talking to Brother Ali. Some people we are doing da'wah to, discussing with them. Whenever we try to focus on this, they take us to a different route, and they try to pull us into a topic that will take long time. Why will it take long time? Why we will waste our energy because the focus is not on Tawheed, the focus is not on the main purpose of our existence. And so long as you stay away from these two things, then you will spend too much energy, too much time, and with less achievements, or with no achievements at all. But the moment you focus on this, they have no ground to stand on, because this is very powerful. And subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He advised us to say the shahada, He told us what? To say what? La ilaha illa Allah. 4 words. The first 2 words, there is no God. You have to, in order for you to be a believer, you have to be a kafir. Do you know that? Unless you are a kafir, you are not a mu'min. You have to be kafir in what? In every other deity except Allah. That's the belief now. The iman is to believe in only one deity, and that's Allah, the creator of all. Focus on that. Study Tawheed like, this should be like your name. What's your name? Wael Muhammad Mahmoud Muhammad Ibrahim. That's my full name. Unless you memorize Tawheed, unless you understand what Tawheed is all about, what does it mean to worship Allah, like your name, you will be cornered somehow by people who wanted to trap you or wanted to invite you to other ways. Unless this concept is not clear in your mind, there will be very difficult time. You will experience very difficult time in doing da'wah. وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let amongst you people who will arise, calling people to that which is good. Allah called da'wah something good. You're calling people to goodness, to Islam. And وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. And they call people for that which is beneficial and prohibit them from that which is evil. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Those are the successful people. And success here means that you will be successful in this dunya and in the next, not only in this dunya. Unless you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the beginning of this ayah, subhanallah, let there be amongst you, and the literal translation, minkum, from amongst you. Not all of you will be given that blessing. Not all of you will be picked to do the job of the prophets, not anyone. And not you will see, and maybe you have experienced that you have started and then you stopped. You have to ask yourself, why did I stop? And put all the excuses. Wallahi, this is my exercise, the exercise that my sheikh told me. Put all the excuses on a piece of paper, and then weigh it with the reward of muflihun, of success, and say, is it worth it? And you will see the excuses are all lame. I became more busy with my work. Now I have children, I need to cook and need to clean. And all are lame. All are answerable. All can have millions of solutions. You tell me one problem. Tell me one problem. I'll give you for every problem at least 100 solutions. But the problem is, none of them comes, to you as per your desire. You don't desire the solutions. Like, is cigarette halal or haram? You know those people who come, is cigarette halal, please? Tell me, please. Or haram? You will say it's haram. Why? You ask me, is it halal or haram? So the answer is haram. Why do you ask again? That means you don't want to hear that answer. And if I told you it's halal, what will you do? Allahu Akbar. You don't want to ask further. You got the fatwa that you want. That's why there are some people who are, I call fatwa hunters. You know the fatwa hunters? They go to one sheikh, they say, is it halal or haram? Haram. Let me ask another sheikh. Halal or haram? Haram. Shopping, fatwa shopping, whatever. You pick what you want. That's not fatwa. That's not seeking knowledge. Seeking knowledge is, again, sometimes you'll get the answers that you don't like, and the challenge is, are you a Muslim? Are you someone who is willing to submit his own will to the will of Allah or not? You're not? Then no need to ask. There is no even reason for you to ask. Why do you ask? Like the people who ask halal and haram about food only. But when it comes to zina, it's fine. When it comes to a little bit of beer, but halal food, this is a must. The mutton must be halal. Allah make it easier. Look at the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. He was like, this dua, my Lord, I've called my people, I've invited my people laylan wa nahara. Now, here a bit of technical thing about Arabic. Here, laylan wa nahara. The letter waw and indicates non-stop da'wah. Like non-stop. قال ربي إني دعوت قومي ليلا ونهارا. By night and by day, non-stop. Like whenever I meet someone, hey, worship Allah, worship Allah, worship Allah. The question is, for how long, Prophet Noah? 950 years. How many people believed with him? وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, only few people. Only few. Yani the 200 of 2009. Some narration they said that only 90 people believed with Nuh alayhi salam. Some scholars or some books. 90 people with the Prophet of Allah. And after 950 years, if me and brother Adil Malik, for example, SIT and MCHK combined the effort and we made a building for 950 years and we kept on expanding, kept on collecting donations to make a big Dawah center for 950 years, if Allah gave us that life, yani, imagine how massive we would become in 950 years. Imagine how many shahada we would actually be bragging about. Imagine how many posts on Facebook. 950 years. وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. So Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was like complaining to who? To Allah, not complaining to the world. To Allah, Ya Allah, I've called my people day in and day out. فَلَمْ يَزِدْهُمْ دُعَائِي إِلَّا فِرَارًا. Every time I invite them, doesn't accept my dua or my invitation does not increase them at all except going away from my message. So he was like depressed. Look at the wording. وَإِنِّي كُلَّمَا دَعَوْتُهُمْ لِتَغْفِرَ لَهُمْ جَعَلُوا أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ وَاسْتَغْشَوْا ثِيَابَهُمْ وَأَصَرُّوا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا اسْتِكْبَارًا. Allahu Akbar. Like whenever every time, this is something amazing. Like if I was on the street, now we are going to street da'wah inshallah. If I'm on the street and would you like to hear something about Islam? Hey, no. I will feel bad, I will feel down. I will go and think a couple of times before I approach the next person because the first one shut me out. Yeah? I will be reading the faces. Yeah, this is nice. Apparently he's smiling. Okay, let's talk. Yeah? True or false? Because some people, sometimes rude people, they spoil your mood. But look here, Nuh alayhi salam is saying every single time, meaning everyone will pass by, I will talk to him. But every time I talk to him, they do like this. And they put their garments on the top of the face, like, I don't want to even see you, I don't want to hear your voice. Imagine that every time. وَإِنِّي كُلَّمَا, the Arabic here is like beautiful. It's telling us that Nuh alayhi salam was like going from one person to another, experiencing the same result, the same 950 years. So show me, now tell me what is your problems. Yalla, I'm waiting. What are the problems that you are facing, guys? Those who are interested in da'wah. An organization don't want to put your logo? Wallah, I'm laughing at myself because that's what happened, and many people here, Brother Ashraf, Ali, even Brother Adil have witnessed these things in the past. We were idiots. May Allah forgive us and protect us from falling further. But this was a reality. And look, when we compare with the greatest of all Daees, their patience, their level of determination was beyond imagination. And this will never happen unless you grow as a Muslim yourself. And that's our discussion tomorrow, the constitution of a believer. If you don't follow the constitution, there is no hope. ثُمَّ إِنِّي دَعَوْتُهُمْ جِهَارًا. Then I start, after approaching one person at the time, and everyone will give me the same response, then in public now, all of them. Okay? ثُمَّ إِنِّي أَعْلَنْتُ لَهُمْ وَأَسْرَرْتُ لَهُمْ إِسْرَارًا. That I have announced to them and also talked to them secretly, one-on-one again. Subhanallah. فَقُلْتُ اسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا. The message was very pure. Just ask Allah to forgive you. He is oft forgiving. That's what I'm calling you to. Now imagine if you ask someone in Hong Kong, passing by, non-Muslim, doesn't have idea about who God is. Say, I'm inviting you to seek forgiveness from Allah. I want you to imagine the reaction of someone who hear these words for the first time. Are you crazy? Mafana, you know, they will say these things. What did he say? Yeah, crazy cheese, and they will tell you these things because they don't know. But he doesn't care. That's what Allah told him. Allah told him, go and convey the message. And it's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be embarrassing sometimes. But what was your intention before leaving this room to do the da'wah? Ya Allah, Ya Allah, all of myself, my t-shirt in the rain, my shiny head, me and brother Adil, my legs, my pain in my back, in my waist is all for you. That should be the intent. I'm now going for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever happens, happens. And anytime you feel bad doing da'wah because of a reaction of someone here, someone there, any bad feelings that creeps in and you took it like personally, rectify your heart because the ego is working. And the ego is the destroyer of the heart. Finished. Once, yani Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, very dangerous hadith. لا يدخل الجنة. Imagine the first 2-3 words in the hadith. None of you enter Jannah. Allah. لا يدخل. The literal translation. He or she will not enter Jannah. So the companions are sitting. Who is that person? من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة من خردل من كبر. Whosoever had an atom weight of a mustard seed of arrogance. How small that is. And subhanAllah, sometimes you meet people who will tell you, you don't know who am I? I met those people a lot in Egypt especially. This is very common, unfortunately. Anyone you meet, you don't know who am I? So earlier, in those days, subhanAllah, whenever somebody talk like this, you will feel like he's like a big guy, like, police officer, a judge, someone like who can put you in trouble. But when we learn the religion, whenever someone tell me, you don't know who am I say, no, I know. You are dust. You are mud. That's your origin. That's who you are. And you see how subhanAllah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you to speak. And now you're so arrogant. Dust, mud is very arrogant, like, wasteful. That's who you are. That's why Allah said in the Quran, Allah, أَفَلَمْ يَرَى الْإِنسَانِ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِن نُطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. Have humankind never thought of the fact that they were created from mudghah, nutfah, like something, like if this thing fall on your clothes, you have to take a shower, you have to clean your garments. It's dirt. فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ. Then later on, when we gave him the intellect, the tongue became an enemy to us. Have humankind never? So whenever somebody acts this with arrogance, say, I know who you are. Your origin is dirt. That's who you are. And you're acting like, even dirtier than the dirt. SubhanAllah al-Azim. So be careful of arrogance, guys. Be careful. Now, this is something I will pass very briefly. In order for you to have an impact, a more powerful impact, you have to increase, or improve your skills of public speaking. You have to change the game. And the Prophet ﷺ, subhanAllah, sometimes he will be giving a khutbah, and if he notices that the people are not paying attention, he will be holding his stick and he will hit it in the ground to grab the attention of the audience. Because sometimes, how many times you have seen people, or you yourself, actually slept during the khutbah, during Friday? And then when the iqamah comes, you stand up as if nothing happened. Right? How many times you've seen people actually going through their Facebook during the khutbah? Where the Prophet ﷺ said, if somebody play in the stones during the khutbah, is فَقَدْ لَغَى. Yani his khutbah, his jum'ah, Is doubting, yeah, it's doubtful. There's something, and maybe invalid, maybe Allah, God knows. But look how the Prophet ﷺ used to use a lot of demonstrations to explain a concept. Like, imagine he's sitting with his companions one day, and he drew a line in the dirt, and then he said, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا, and this is my straight path. He's telling them, this is how you should stick to Allah's path and religion, like a straight line. But there are other branches that goes off, and on every branch there is a shaitan, devil, inviting you to that which is haram. Yeah, فَاتَّبِعُوهُ, so follow that straight path and do not follow these other. Allah, look at the picture. Even us now, we can visualize how it looked like, right? So visual presentation is very important. When you are invited to speak, do not hesitate. Shall I teach you the most important 7 words I've learned last year?
Yes. Please.
Now we have to talk money. Now sincerity must work. Say yes, and then work out how. So if you are invited for da'wah, say yes. Don't ever hesitate. Don't ever say, I will think about it and call you back later. No, say, I agree, I'm coming. This man just met me yesterday. He told me, I'm inviting you for a debate, 7 debates. I don't know the topics yet. I don't know when yet. I don't know anything yet. I say, I'm in. I'm in. Then work out how. When you start knowing the details, prepare yourself, study well, research, ask your mentors, get advice, prepare your finances. How will you fly? When will you fly? But don't ever say no to da'wah, because if you say no, we will find somebody else who will do the job. In tatawallaw, Allahu Akbar. This is wake up Muslim. In tatawallaw yastabdil Allah qawman ghayrakum thumma la yakunu amthalakum. If you said no, if you deviate, if you became hesitant, if you did not do the job right, Allah will substitute in your place another people, and they will not be like you, meaning they will actually do a better job. Say yes and then work out how later, but don't hesitate. So public speaking is something very essential. When you spend money on a course to enhance your public speaking skills, that's not a cost, that's an investment, because you will see its fruit later on. And wallahi, there is nothing better than, if there is one skill that you need to enhance, that you need to improve, to assist you in anything that you do in life, it is public speaking. Because you will need it anytime, every time. Because we need to speak, right? And you need to express yourself. You need it in an interview job. When you have a job interview, you need public speaking to convince that person who asks you sometimes stupid questions, but you need to present yourself. Yeah? So we'll now, an advice from the Prophet ﷺ to all the Muslims, but now highlight the word Daee. Those people who actually have taken the responsibility of going out to convey the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this advice is for the general Muslims, but for the Da'i, it is most important, and like without it, you're a joke. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. It's difficult. It's really challenging. Like, imagine the Prophet ﷺ told in the Quran, فَاسْتَقِمْ كَمَا أُمِرْتَ. Remain firm upon the Deen as you have been commanded. Who's taking that advice? This advice is for whom? For the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's already on the straight path, whose sins been forgiven past and future. That's the Prophet. He is being given a command to be firm upon the straight path. Be careful. You are an example. Anything you do, it would not impact you only. It would impact sometimes millions, like the example that we have witnessed recently. Because, not really on the straight path, there was something wrong. It impacted not only him as an individual Muslim, it impacted millions of people. I know of people who contacted me about this issue, that, brother, may Allah protect us all, who left the faith completely because they were guided through that one particular individual. I want to tell you something. Tomorrow we are discussing this. How can you detach yourself from anyone and just focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You will never reach to Allah except through Allah. This is one of the things we wanted to discuss. But once you attach yourself to a teacher, and then that teacher does something horrible, then your faith in Islam becomes shaky. This is now tarbiyah. That's why you need a teacher. You need someone to teach you, to guide you, to mentor you. It's important. When the man came to the Prophet ﷺ and told, advise me, give me one advice that I will never ask anyone after you. Like, give me the best of all advice. He said, قُلْ آمَنْتُ بِاللَّهِ ثُمَّ اسْتَقِمْ. Say, I believe in Allah, and then there's something else. It's not only about believing in Allah, it's about being steadfast. The Da'i has to become an example of firmness upon the true path. You cannot just do da'wah, but at home, you're a bad example. You cannot just tell the people how nice you should be to your parents, but back home, you shout at them, you disrespect them, you don't obey them. You cannot tell the people you must become nice to your husband, nice to your wife, but back home you have a lot of horrible relationship between you and your. You cannot tell the people that you shouldn't beat up your children, but back home you're slapping your children on their faces, which is something the Prophet ﷺ prohibited, and so on. So unless you become an example by being firm upon the straight path, then what you do can impact others, but the fall, the shortcoming, if exposed, you also impact others. So the sin of others will be upon you. So be careful. That's why I said istiqamah is, highlight this for the da'is, is very tricky, very difficult to achieve. It's one of the most challenging manners to remain always firm, but it's required. It's a requirement. Okay? And that's why the Prophet ﷺ used to make that dua, Ya muthabbit al-qulub, oh the one who strengthened the hearts, thabbit qalbi ala deenik, make my heart steadfast, firm upon your religion. Don't let me deviate. Don't let shaitan come and beautify things for me. Like one of the stories that I always mention, and please brother Adil, you edit that, of someone who actually was doing da'wah, and because of his looseness or in dealing with women, with sisters, he fell into zina through da'wah. So shaitan is very smart. He can trick you through the things that you actually feel it's pleasing to Allah, to destroy your faith completely. And that brother, subhanallah al-azim, after the girl embraced Islam, she left town, and then he communicated her through Skype or whatever means of chatting communication, and he started teaching her what? That's how shaitan beautified the Deen, through tajweed. Can you imagine you're teaching a girl who just embraced Islam yesterday, you're teaching her tajweed. And you tell her what? Ba, sa, all this through the webcam, she cannot see, so you go closer, and shaitan of course, do the rest. And he flew from one country to another just to meet her in person, and the zina happened. Then after that they came crying, what to do? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Through what? Da'wah. Yes, it can happen. Unless you are firm, unless you know what you're doing, unless you know that you have spoken to a sister in the street and she took shahada, your job is done. Your job as a da'i is done. She took shahada, even if there is a sister to help during the street da'wah to explain, you don't have to have any business with that sister. Otherwise, shaitan will come from a different direction. MashaAllah, she's young. MashaAllah, I need to marry. Perhaps this would be the best. My advice to everyone, don't marry your students. Don't have a policy. Any sister who will come to my class to listen to me, I will never in case I want to marry, I will never consider those my students. No, that's a policy. I will never consider any girl that she comes during the street da'wah as my wife. Even if she's the most beautiful girl in the world, I don't care. That's a policy. Why? Because it could spoil your intention. Once something else entered other than this, the da'wah for the sake of Allah, then anything else can spoil that. So immediately, direct, sister, you embrace Islam, alhamdulillah. There was no sister at that time, and this girl came, asked about Islam, answer. While talking to her, don't stare at her. Islam is so beautiful, and Islam is so nice. And you start beautifying your voice, and acting wrong, and Come on, man up. Talk nicely, divert your gaze. Don't stare at the sister. Just talk to her and while looking elsewhere. Save yourself. The Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave good news to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq that he will be in Jannah. This same man said, if one of my foot in Jannah, I will not feel secured until everything is in Jannah. Until everything is... Who is saying that? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. He never feel like relaxed, now I'm in Jannah. Yee. So don't think because you're doing da'wah, khalas, you are secure. Ibrahim alayhi salam, the man who broke the idols, he made a dua, Ya Allah, protect me and my children from worshipping the idols. But you broke the idols, you're not gonna worship them. You believe that they harm you not or benefit you, right? Why would you make dua? Because I don't feel secure. My heart might change. Ya muqallib al-qulub. Allah can just turn your heart upside down if you took advantage of the people, of the innocence of the people. Like I've seen a video, someone sent it to me, somebody doing da'wah. Again, ashhadu, and the girl is innocent. She doesn't know anything about Islam. Ashhadu an la ilaha. And after the shahada, he hugged her. Mabruk, congratulations. Now this girl, she doesn't know anything. So, every hug by another man, non-mahram man, after this incident, in the bad deeds of this, whoever that man was. Because you didn't teach her that now intermingling with the opposite sex have got limitation, don't touch each other unless this is haram, the Prophet said this, be careful. One of the things that destroys Daees, especially men, is their loose communication, interaction with the opposite gender. It destroys the Daee. And it turns that person into a zombie Muslim. Apparently he's doing a good deed, but internally he or she knows that they are in deep, deep trouble. Yeah, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen our hearts and made us always firm. Do the deeds for Allah's sake. So this is the ayah that I mentioned earlier. The Prophet ﷺ, when he received this ayah, you know what happened? Do you know what happened? He said what? Shayyabatni Hud. The chapter of Hud have turned my hair into grey. From the heaviness of the message. Allah told him, hey, you are the example of this nation. You are the messenger of Allah. So be firm upon the deen. So the command is given to the Prophet ﷺ. How about you and I? If this command is given to the Prophet, then how much more we should care about istiqamah. Yeah? But the beauty of those who are on the straight path, the good news is given in the Quran. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Those who said our Lord is Allah and then remain upon the straight path, became firm, became steadfast. I'm highlighting the Arabic for now, I'll show you the English. But I call them that this is the two pillars of Islam. Don't think I'm inventing any new religion, okay? Please bear with me. So we have the 5 pillars of Islam, we know them. Shahada, Salah, Zakah, Sawm, and Hajj. Alhamdulillah, I'm a Muslim, right? Confirm? Now, there are 2 pillars, I call them the most essential pillars that are one without the other the whole thing is useless. Iman in Allah is essential, but without being firm upon that Iman, it is useless. What is the point of saying La ilaha illallah but not following Allah? And what's the point? And you cannot be upon the straight path without having faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What straight path are you on? So they are like intertwined. Once you say Allah is my Lord, you see the word thumma. Thumma here, then indicating the hasteness, or the speed of becoming steadfast upon the straight path. Don't let go of that. Tomorrow we are discussing the problem of this. Some people will be very excited in the initial stage of becoming, newly committed to the Deen. Very excited. They want to pray the Sunnah. Not only 12 rak'ah, they wanted tahajjud. They wanted everything at once. But all of a sudden, because they did not focus on istiqamah, they even neglected the rest of the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, my brothers and sisters, whether you are in the field of da'wah or not, that these 2 things are very important because the reward of them are also great. What will happen to those people who maintain their iman and maintain the level of istiqamah, the angels will descend upon them at the moment of death. The moment of death is the most difficult moment for anyone's life. These are the last moments, subhanallah, where you cannot even communicate with other people. Like the angel of death will strike at a moment that your family members will be around you, perhaps you see them, but khalas, you will be focused on what matters the most. Angels, man, you're seeing angels now. And those angels, if they come to you while you are upon iman in Allah, and you remain firm, not yo-yo Muslim. No, you cannot be a da'i and yo-yo. Sometimes Muslims part-time, harami. Harami in Arabic means a thief. No, you have to be. And I'm not saying that we are here to achieve perfection in istiqamah. You will fall for sure. Kullu ibn Adam khata. The Prophet ﷺ said, all the children of Adam are sinners. You will sin, you will fall, you will err. You will feel sometimes like demotivated. All these things you will experience. Tomorrow, alhamdulillah, we are dealing with how to shift back and re-motivate yourself and inspire yourself to get back to shape. But if you died upon that, Allahu Akbar, the angels will come and tell you what? Allah takhafu, don't scare. Excuse me, I'm dying. Don't scare, don't be afraid. Death, whenever I talk about death, I myself feel afraid. Whenever I talk about that, even now, I feel like the angels will strike. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. But you feel unease, right? Whenever you talk about death, you start breathing heavily, you start feeling uncomfortable because it's the journey of the unknown, the experience, totally new experience. So, but imagine in that critical moment, the angel comes and say, don't scare, Allahu Akbar, and don't feel sad. Don't be sad like you're leaving your family behind, you're leaving this and that. Don't be sad. وَأَبْشِرُوا, immediately before even you breathe your last and receive the good news of Jannah. You remember Jannah that you read about in the Quran, that you talked to the people about? Here it is. وَأَبْشِرُوا, and receive the good news of Jannah which you were promised. And they will continue. نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. We will be your supporters in this life, now, just now. We will receive your soul kindly, nicely, humbly. And in the hereafter, after resurrection, after you get out from your grave, we will receive you. And when you enter Jannah, وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسَكُمْ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ. In Jannah you will have whatever you wish for and whatever you ask for. And this is something I always, again, visualize because I love to imagine stuff. So I always go, when I'm in Jannah, alright, so Allah said, وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ. Whatever your soul desires, whatever your heart desires. So if you desire, let's say, pork. If you desire like something, like Muhammad Atallah want to fly in Jannah. So if the thought came in, that I wish to fly, even without moving your lips, you would be flying in Jannah. Can you imagine that? Not only that, but I want mango. Command the servants that Allah will be giving to you. Allah, this is the comfort now. Finally, there is a place of peace. Finally, there is a place of, sitting back and relax. But so long as you're breathing here in this dunya, forget about comfort. It doesn't work this way. Unless you strive, unless you work hard, there is, there will be no Jannah that you desire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَمَنْ يُرِدُ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Whosoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want to guide, He will expand his chest to Islam. As a da'i, my brothers, and I will end with this inshallah ta'ala, as a da'i, unless you have that love for the Deen, you will never be able to express these emotions, these feelings to others. You will never be able to show the people the beauty of Islam because you yourself is not convinced. You are not in love with the Deen. And this is something I advise you to reconnect yourself with Allah, reconnect with the Salah, reconnect with the Quran. only these three things can bring you back to shape, inshallah ta'ala, and you can change the world. So inshallah ta'ala, we'll end it here. Jazakumullah khairan for your patience. We have like 10-15 minutes. If you have any questions, we can entertain that before we move to the salah, inshallah.
We have snacks.
May Allah bless you, reward you, sir.
We have snack as well.
We have what?
Snacks.
Oh, we have snakes here. We have snacks. Inshallah, may Allah bless you, brother Adil. And you know,
Everyone.
inshallah, I'm expecting that this center will grow
Ameen.
fast and will become one of the best, inshallah, in town. So if you have any question before we end, inshallah, we can entertain. Yes, sister.
So, brother, you talked about giving dawah to non-Muslims.
Yes.
Can I hear something about Muslims and especially your family members?
Yes. Allah said in the Quran, "U'mur ahlaka bis-salah wastabir alayha." Regarding inviting your family members who perhaps are not practicing as you please or as you think is right, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said regarding the salah, command your family, advise your family to perform their salah, but be patient with them. Don't get frustrated. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. That you were like that before, but Allah granted you guidance before them. So you were like this before. So don't think that just because Allah guided you first, everyone should be doomed. Everyone should be scolded. Everyone should be treated in a demeaning way. No. Be patient. They're your family members, whether you like it or not. They are not yet there like you. They were not guided yet like you. And that's sometimes it's a test for you to be patient. We just spoke about the Prophet Nuh, alayhi salam, and how patient he was, talking to everyone individually, publicly, secretly. And he didn't give up for 950 years. So I don't think that we have a right to complain when we see some of our family members are not yet where we are. We thank Allah for who we are and what we do, if we are doing right, if we are following the commands of Allah, and we constantly speak to our family members mildly. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. Invite people to the way of your Lord with wisdom. And wisdom is what, sister? Is to say the right thing at the right time, in the right manner, in the right place also. You cannot sit in the restaurant while enjoying a nice meal and say, by the way, you did not read your Quran today. I'm enjoying my halal steak and you're telling me. So you have to use the opportunity, use the right time, right place. You're in the house reading the Quran. Instead of and sometimes since you asked the question, a sister, I will give an example. Sometimes sisters in general, when they want to advise their husbands, what happens is, I'll tell you a secret, don't tell anyone.
I need to edit.
Huh?
Need to edit it.
No, leave it, but don't tell anyone. Husbands do not, unfortunately, which is bad and it's wrong Islamically, they do not like to listen to their wives. They do not like to listen to advice, or they don't like their wives to be their teachers. Unfortunately, it's a reality, but it's un-Islamic, because the Prophet ﷺ used to listen to the advice of his wives. Yeah? So instead of teaching in a manner that, hey, I am teaching you now, so listen to me. Instead of having this attitude, the secret is, I'm reading Quran, I want my husband to join me in this beautiful, act of worship. Honey, I cannot, grasp the meaning of this. Can you recite with me and just teach me something about this? So I don't understand exactly what Allah wanted me from. He will come and teach you. He will not teach you anything, just read together. Oh, okay, alhamdulillah. So start with this little advice, use the right approach, and let it grow. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes give every individual different capacity. So if I'm good in memorizing the Quran, it doesn't mean that the other people who don't memorize Quran are lesser of a Muslim than I am. If I'm expert in da'wah to non-Muslims, doesn't mean that I am a lesser Muslim than the one who will invite Muslims to the Deen, and so on. So everyone has got different capacity. So if your wife doesn't have the ability to memorize more Quran because she's from a non-Muslim background, or she's busy with her business but she's doing other things Islamically right, then alhamdulillah, that's her person. Let her. The man who came to the Prophet ﷺ and he told him, if I pray 5 times if I pay my zakah, if I fast during Ramadan, if I perform the Hajj, will I be in Jannah? He said yes. He said, Wallahi, I will not do more or less. I will just do what you just. He said if he was truthful, after he left, the Prophet told the people, if he was truthful, he will be in Jannah. The minimum. He stuck to the minimum. There are some people who can't go beyond the minimum. Okay, alhamdulillah. So long as you are sincere, Allah will bless you, inshallah. If you exceeded that, and your family members are not catching up, advise them and leave them for a while. Don't nag them. Every meal, every minute, every hour, every this and that, this would be too much. Yeah. So may Allah make it easy for all of us.
The reason that I say pork in the Jannah.
Because it will be halal there.
No, some they say if we stop eating pork here, and then because we be convert to the Muslim, shall we find the pork at the Jannah and the later? So I mean we stop wine here, we will find wine in Jannah.
Yes.
So pork also, or for example for Egypt they say we need fish. I know the dirty fish. Then
Dirty fish. We need to eat dirty fish in Jannah.
so they love. I mean they love to eat this one.
Like you
So
know the questions that we have on.
We have to leave. Rani
Yes,
has
yes.
exam.
No problem. All the best. Inshallah, Razia. All the best. We have to understand that the mindset will change also. Like if Allah send you to Jannah, I don't think that any Muslim will think of pork or any person who.
What you have in the
No, I mean is the Jannah, the mindset, the perspective, the things that you will see is totally different than what we are thinking now. Like يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماء. And everything will change. The earth will look different. The heavens will look different. The terms we are familiar with, but the reality, the essence, is completely different. In Jannah, there are that which no eyes have ever seen. Billions of people lived since the creation of Adam until today, passed away and still alive. No eyes, no two eyes have ever seen what's in Jannah. No two ears have ever heard what's going to happen in Jannah. So the birds, the trees, the sound of the rivers and all these, the terms Allah had given us in the Quran because we don't know other than them. But the reality, the rivers will be not the rivers that we know of today. The milk will not be the milk that we see today. So why would anyone think of pork? Of all this beauty, why would anyone would think, I think I need pork chop? But I tell you something. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَكُمْ مَا تَشَاءُونَ فِيهَا وَلَدَيْنَا مَزِيدٌ. Whatever you desire, you will get in Jannah, and we have even more. Supposedly someone thought of eating pork because khalas, the taklif is lifted.
Yes.
The obligatory things, khalas, no more obligatory, no praying 5 times a day, no adhan anymore. Khalas, your breath will be subhanallah, alhamdulillah, and you will be worshipping Allah automatically like the angels. You don't need the obligatory taklif which we have today. But one thing, supposedly someone desire pork, he will be given. That's the answer according to the Quran.
This is what I say.
وَلَكُمْ
The
فِيهَا
answer is-
وَلَكُمْ مَا تَشَاءُونَ فِيهَا. The promise is you will have whatever you wish in it.
If you still remember that, you will get it.
And you will have even more. We have even more than what you asked for. So, yes.
If we've been breathing subhanallah, alhamdulillah, so I'm not very sure whether I got it right or not. On the other side, will be always spiritual than the physical person, entity. Will
No.
be different creation. Different creation means spiritual creation, more of a physical creation.
But we will be physical as well.
Yeah, more than a physical creation. That's what I'm saying.
The details, whether we are
Spiritual creation.
the details are not given. The details of how much of a spiritual creation or physical are not given.
Over the physical creation.
As I said, if the details are not given, that means it's not essential for us to know. So Allah sometimes will leave these details, like the story of the Kahf, the story of the cave. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, some people say that they were 2 and the third was a dog. Some people say they are 3 and the fourth. So people left the lesson
Conjecture.
and they started thinking, and research papers were made about whether they're 7 or 5. So they wasted their energy just to know what is the benefit. Nothing, zero, nil. So the same thing, whether we will be spiritual or physical, I don't think it's essential for our salvation to know. So sometimes that's why the Prophet ﷺ would always make a dua every morning, Allahumma inni أسألك علما نافعا. Oh Allah, I ask you to grant me a beneficial knowledge, not any knowledge. Because what would you do if you know that there is actually dust on the earth, on Mars, or on the moon? That there is actually dust. We brought dust from the moon. MashaAllah, how much you spend to bring some dust from the moon? What would actually benefit the ummah, the entire creation, because we have found dust on the moon? So these things, many scientists will come and say a list of benefits, which irrelevant to the rest of the people. Maybe it's beneficial to them because they are scientists, but for us as a whole, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would always leave these knowledge hidden, which will not benefit us as a whole. So whether we are spiritual or not, we don't have really much to elaborate. We don't have knowledge. And I don't know, the Quran didn't mention it, Prophet ﷺ didn't mention it. But these are the knowledge given, that we will be breathing subhanallah, alhamdulillah, we will be worshipping, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly. We will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, plainly. How? I always think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this dunya. Have you seen that video, the earth compared to the sun compared to the Milky Ways, and how insignificant we are compared to the creation of Allah? Now imagine the one who created all of that. How big is he in size? It's something unimaginable, right? But the Prophet ﷺ told us, and he was sitting with the companions like this, and he said, can you see that moon? By Allah, you're going to see your Lord exactly like how you see that moon in Jannah. Inshallah, may Allah make us among those who will look. But how? The logic tells us, if he's bigger than all this creation, massive creation, then we would be like, tiny, teeny. How? The how is unknown. That's why Imam Malik, rahmatullah alayhi, may Allah have mercy on him, he said, they asked him about how Allah is sitting on his throne. The philosophers, they think a lot, and sometimes there is a thin line between intelligence and madness and stupidity. Very thin line. So they ask about how Allah supposedly is sitting on the throne. So he said something beautiful to sum up the aqidah of these things that are unknown. He said, al-istiwa'u ma'loom. Sitting, the position of sitting is known. I'm sitting. So everybody knows when I say sit down, you know what I'm talking about. But now we are talking about Allah being seated on the throne. So he said, al-istiwa'u ma'loom. Everybody knows what sitting is. Wal-kayfu majhool. But the how is unknown. Now look at the next statement he made. He said, al-imanu bihi wajib. To believe that Allah is sitting on the throne is obligatory, because it's in the Quran. To believe that Allah is sitting on the throne is obligatory. وَالسُّؤَالُ عَنْهُ بِدْعَةٌ. But to question how is bid'ah. And bid'ah is innovation. And innovation would be thrown in hellfire. So be careful. So Allah has got hands. Iman about Allah have got hands is obligatory.
In the Quran.
It's there in the Quran. He has face. How he look? 2 eyes, nose, big, small, white, black. That's why the other religious, because Allah is described as a human being, there are some denominations, they drew God as a black figure. Some they drew him as Indian figures, because they have only, alhamdulillah, in Islam, laysa kamithlihi shay'un. There is nothing like him. There is nothing. So we don't have to go and tire ourselves of how Allah looked like, because He told us, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Simple, the whole story is sealed. You understand, akhi? So Allah has got face. How it look like, I don't care. I don't want to ask about this. I believe He has face, and that is what matters the most. Yeah.
I also heard about this. He rose over his throne, the way it suits His Majesty. That's
Yes. He descend every night. How He descend?
The way it suits His Majesty.
Some Muslims, unfortunately, because they couldn't fathom how Allah descends, so they say, no, it's not Him, it's the angels. Now you are corrupting the narration of the Prophet ﷺ. You are now coming up with your own narration, saying that it's not Him, it's the angels. It's not Him, it's authority. But none of these words are mentioned. Done? Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward you and accept your efforts. I really appreciate that you came during a rainy day. It's unusual in Hong Kong for people to leave their home during a rainy day. So may Allah accept your efforts. Guys, the thing that I will ask you on the Day of Judgment, yani, inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admitted us all in Jannah, which I have full hope that He will include us in His mercy, the one thing that I will ask you on the Day of Judgment, what have you implemented from this workshop? So take this seriously. Don't just come here, entertain yourself, and then leave and do nothing. The religion of ours is action-oriented. If you have learned something, one thing. The Prophet said, "Ballighu anni walau ayah." Even a single verse. My demand is that on the Day of Judgment, inshallah, when we gather in Jannah under Allah's shade, guys, you remember this day in that beautiful office? What have you done? One thing, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. That's the only thing you should care about. By leaving this room, you are responsible of at least implementing one thing. So with that, I ask you to pray for me, for my family, and I ask you to please take this as a responsibility, that this is a beautiful Deen, as a trust. Don't just take it as a personal matter. It's something that we should care about for all the people and all our surrounding. With that, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Brother Adil, for the beautiful opportunity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.